This is the second tutorial from the series of 3 Microsoft Access tutorial. Queries can be used to quickly analyze and sort information that is in an Access database. A query allows you to present a question to your database by specifying specific criteria. Queries allow you to specify the table fields that appear in a query, the order of the fields in a query. You can filter and sort criteria for each field in a query. You will often need to join tables in a Microsoft Access query where you need to view information from 2 or more separate database tables. For this, you will need to use query joins to accomplish the task. When you run a database query to find data in related tables, by default, Microsoft Access will look for records that have a matching value on both sides of the relationship. While this is what you may want to do most of the time, by knowing how to use the different types of query joins, you can control which records will be displayed as the output. This enables you to again find the exact data that you want, not more and not less. Before looking at joined queries, we are going to look at AND or OR queries. Oftentimes, we need to pull records from multiple tables and or queries. If you need to pull records from a table which satisfy only 2 or more criteria, you need to use AND query. If you need to pull records from a table which satisfy either OR criteria, you need to use OR query. So let's look at an example to better understand this. Alright, okay, this is my products table. And let's say as a member of the analytics team at Oil Corp, I'm asked to quickly identify how many and which SKUs of extra virgin oil is greater than size 8 and is priced higher than 13. So this is my size column, and this is my price column, and this is the SKU column. I need to use AND OR queries, and I need to provide a single list with price and cost data only for extra virgin and first cold press products. So this is my products table, and in that I need to provide extra virgin and first cold data only. And this list should be in ascending order by the product name. So extra virgin would come before first cold. Just to show you what exactly are we talking about, go to the products column, click on filter icon, and select from the drop down, just select extra virgin and first cold press and click OK. So currently we have all the data for extra virgin and first cold press. Then the size should be greater than 8. So again, I'm going to click on this drop down and I'm going to number filters. In that, I'm going to go to greater than and I'm going to type in 8 and I'm going to click OK. So it's giving me all the records for extra virgin and first cold where size is greater than 8. I also need to ensure that the price is greater than 13. So I'm going to go to the price column and I'm going to click on the drop down and I'm going to go to number filters where I'm going to click on greater than again and I'm going to type in 13 this time and I'm going to click OK. Now I need to sort this in ascending order, which it already is sorted. But just to show you, click on this icon and then click on Sort A to Z. And it'll sort the data in ascending order by product name. So this is where we need to get to. This is a simple example, so let me show you how we can accomplish this by using AND OR queries. Go to the Create tab. Under Queries, click on Query Design. Once you do that, a dialog box will open. It's called Show Table. It essentially consists of all the tables and queries in the database. So it has 3 tabs: Tables, Queries, and then both, which means tables plus queries. So in this case, I'm simply going to go to the Table tab. In that, I'm going to select the table which I want to use. So in this case, it'll be Products table, and I'm going to click Add. And now I'm going to click Close. Once I do that, Product table appears in the window. I'm just simply going to drag it, rather extend it all the way down so that we can see all the columns that are there in this particular table. And I'm going to expand this window to the top. Okay. The first row in this window is called Field. So this essentially consists of all the fields that are there in this table. So it's SKU, product size, price, cost, profit, so on and so forth. Then the next row consists of all the tables that are there in this window. Currently there's only one table which is called Products, so that's why it's there. Then the third one is Sort, which is ascending, descending, or not sorted. We know that we need to sort our table by product name, so we can use this. Then Show. If you do not want to show a particular column, then you can uncheck this box. We'll see what I'm talking about in a minute. Criteria. This is where you need to specify your criteria. And OR conditions. This is for OR conditions. So let's go ahead and select the columns that we would like to view in the table. So let's say I want to select SKU, so I'm going to go to SKU and I'm going to double click on it. Once I do that, it has appeared in this window. Another way of doing this is by simply going to that particular cell and clicking on this drop down and selecting the field that we would like to view. So now I would like to view the product. So I'm simply going to click on Product. My next field would be Size. So I'm going to click on Size. And finally, Price. So I'm going to click on Price. Now let's say I'm just simply going to add another field called Cost, but I do not want to view this field when we run the query. So I'm going to uncheck this field. Now go to the Design tab. Under Results, there's something called View and there's something called Run. Go ahead and click on View. When you go to View, this is what you see. You see SKU column, product, size, and price. You do not see the cost column because we had unchecked it. Now go back and click on View under the Home tab and it'll bring you back to the query view. Now let's go ahead and input our criteria. Our first criteria is that we are looking at data only for extra virgin and first cold press. So I'm going to go to the products column and I'm going to click under criteria and I'm going to type in extra virgin in inverted commas. And I'm going to close inverted commas. Then I'm going to type in OR, and then again I'm going to type in an inverted comma and I'm going to type in first cold, so FIRST first. I know that in my table there is no other product which starts with the word first. Because I am sure about it, I'm simply going to type in an asterisk here. And then I'm going to close inverted commas. This asterisk after the word first simply means that anything which is starting with first could be generated in this list. So when we go back and click on View, you're going to see that first cold press has appeared and extra virgin has appeared. So all the records for these two products are there in the table. Now we're going to go back to View. Now under Size, we want to type in greater than 8 because we want to view data only for products which have a size greater than 8. So I'm going to type in greater than sign and then I'm going to type in 8. Under price, I'm going to type in greater than 13 because we want the products which have a price greater than 13. Now I'm going to go ahead and click on View again. Once I do that, I have these 3 records, which was the same as this particular table. Now let's go back to Query 1 and click on View. Now let's just see what happens. Let's just erase this greater than 13 and let's go to the next row and type in greater than 13 in the next row. Now go ahead and click on View. Notice there are 29 records that have appeared. So this is basically telling us that it has generated all the records for extra virgin, fresh cold, where the size was greater than 8, but it has also generated all the records where price was greater than 13. Now I'm going to go back to View. So this means this is an OR condition. So we are going to go back and type in greater than 13 in the same row. And then under Results tab, I'm going to click on Run. Now you can see that we have the SKU column, products column, size, and price. But look, our products column is not in ascending order. So again, we're going to go back to the query view by clicking on View under the Home tab. And under Products column, I'm going to click on this drop down and I'm going to click Ascending. Once I do that, again, I'm going to click on Run. And here you have your data in ascending order for extra virgin and first cold press, where size is greater than 8 and price is greater than $13. Now that you're familiar with queries, let's look at a slightly advanced version of queries, joined queries. It is a temporary relationship that you can create between 2 tables in a database query that do not already have an established relationship or common field with the same field name or data type. Database tables that are joined in a query are related in terms of query only and nowhere else. The type of join that you use indicates which records the query will select or perform the chosen actions on. Note, creating a query will not establish a permanent relationship between the tables. Permanent relationships can only be created in Microsoft Access Relationships window. So now let's look at an example to better understand joint queries. Now let's say we have this particular employees table and we need to create another table out of this which depicts all the employees who have the following job title: purchase manager, purchasing representative, and purchasing assistant, if any, and the employees who live in California and New York. So let's go ahead and click on Create. And under Queries, I'm going to click on Query Design. From there, I'm going to select the table. In this case, it's a query. And I'm going to click Add. And now I'm going to click Close. Let me also take this moment to introduce you to another way of accessing tables and queries. One way is by going to the Design tab, and under Query Setup, there's something called Show Table. You can click on that, and this window would open. And the last method is by right-clicking here, or anywhere in this window, and clicking on Show Table. And then the same window would appear. Now I'm just going to stretch it a bit so that all fields are available. And I'm going to drag this up. So I'm going to create 2 queries right here. The first query is going to contain employee ID, first name, and job title, where the job title would be restricted to purchasing manager, purchasing representative, and purchasing assistant. The second query would contain, again, the ID, first name, and state or province field. in state and province, I'm going to limit it to CA and NY, California and New York. And then I'm going to join the two queries to achieve this result. So I'm going to double click on ID here, first name, and the job title. Now that I have that, I'm going to click in the criteria box and I'm going to open inverted commas and I'm going to type in purchasing. And then I'm going to type in an asterisk and I'm going to close inverted comma. This is because I want to view job titles which contain or which start with the word purchasing. And there are only 3 kinds of job titles which start with this word. And I'm going to click enter. Once done, I'm going to run this. After running this, you can see all 3 job titles have appeared. There's purchasing representative, purchasing manager, and only one purchasing assistant. So now let me go ahead and close this query and I'm going to save it, yes, and I'm going to save it as job title 1 and I'm going to click OK. Now I'm going to go back to the Create tab and let's just click on Query Design and let's go ahead and select the table and click Close. Let me just stretch this a bit. Again, I'm going to double click on ID, first name, and this time I'm going to click on state or province. And under that, I'm going to type in CA or NY. And I'm going to click enter. Let me go ahead and run this. So we have a total of 5 employees which live in these 2 states. Now I'm going to click close and I want to save it and I'm going to save it as state province and I'm going to click OK. Now let's go back to the Create tab for the last time. Go to the query group and click on Query Design. This time go ahead and select the 2 queries which we have just created, which would be job title and the second one would be state province and click close. Notice these queries contain 3 fields each and we know that ID of job title 1 corresponds to ID of state province. So I'm simply going to click on ID and drag it and leave it at the ID in state province table. As soon as I do that, a black line has appeared connecting these 2 tables. Now I'm going to go ahead and double click on this black line. Once I do that, a dialog box opens and it contains join properties. So this is where we're going to talk about join queries because we're joining 2 different queries. And this is describing to us how the 2 tables are going to be connected. We have table on the left and we have table on the right. And the columns which are used to connect both tables. And there are 3 ways in which these tables can be connected. The first one is when you only want to include rows where joint fields from both tables are equal, which means that it is going to exclude all the records where joint fields are not equal to each other. The second option is where it's going to include all the records from the first table, which is job title, and only those records from the state and province table where the joint fields are equal. So we know that our job title query has generated greater number of records. So that means it's going to include all those records and only the records from state and province where it is equal to the job title table. The third option is vice versa. In this case, we are going to check the first option and we're going to click OK. Once that is done, then I'm going to double click on ID, first name, job title, and state and province from the state and province query. And I'm going to click on Run. Here you go. You have all the employees with their ID, first name, and the job title. In this case, all the employees who are either purchasing representative or manager and who live in California or New York. Now let's just go back to the query and let's just double click on this black line again. And just to show you, let's just go ahead and click on the second option, which is to include all the records from job title and only those records from state province where the joint fields are equal. And I'm going to click OK. Now I'm going to click on View under Design. Look what has happened. It has included all the records from the job title query, which is 20, and it has identified their state and province. Now let's go back to the Design tab and let's just double click on this black line again. And now let's click on the third option and click OK. Notice the arrow has appeared. Now it's pointing towards the job title table. This is Microsoft Access way of telling that we have joined these two tables in this manner. And I'm going to click on View. Notice we have 5 records because remember our query for state and province had generated 5 records, so all those 5 records are there and one is blank. Now we're going to go back to the query view and we are going to correct this. So for the last time I'm going to click on this black line and I'm going to click on the first option and I'm going to click OK and I'm going to click on Run under the Design tab. So this is your final answer and this is how we create a joint query. Now let's look at referential integrity. Referential integrity is a database concept that ensures that relationships between tables remain consistent. When one table has a foreign key to another table, the concept of referential integrity states that you may not add a record to that table that contains the foreign key unless there is a corresponding record in the linked table. It also includes the techniques known as cascading update and cascading delete, which ensure that changes made to the linked table are reflected in the primary table. Consider the situation where you have 2 tables, employees and managers. The employees table has a foreign key attribute entitled managed by, which points to the record for that employee's manager in the managers table. Referential integrity enforces the following 3 rules. You may not add a record to the employees table unless the managed attribute points to a valid record in the managers table. If the primary key for a record in the managers table changes, all the corresponding records in the employees table must be modified using a cascade update. If a record in the managers table is deleted, all the corresponding records in the employees table must be deleted using a cascade delete. So now let's look at an example to understand this. Now let's say we have 2 Excel files. One contains employee data, the other contains the corresponding orders data. So let me show you how to import the data from those 2 files into Access and then create relationship between those 2 files and ensure referential integrity. So I'm going to go to Access and under File I'm going to click on New and then I'm going to click on Blank Database. On the right hand side I'm going to change the name and the location and now I'm going to click on Create. Notice a blank table has appeared. I'm simply going to just close it because it's of no use to me. Then I'm going to go to External Data. Under Import and Link, I'm going to click on Excel because this is the file type from which I want to import the data from. And then I'm going to click on Browse. In that, I'm just going to go to the location of the Excel file. So first let me import employee data. So you have the option of importing it or linking the file to the source. So that means if the Excel file has been modified, it'll be updated in Access. But I'm just going to import the source data into a new table without linking it. So I'm simply going to click OK. And I'm going to click Open. OK. Another window has appeared. I'm going to click on Next. I know that the first row in my Excel file contains headers. So I'm simply going to check this box. And I'm going to click Next. This is basically telling me what are all the field names in my Excel file and what is the data type. So I'm going to click Next now. Now I need to pick a primary key, so I'm just going to do that by myself. I do not want Access to provide a primary key for me. And I'm going to click Next. And I'm going to name the table as Employees. And I'm going to click on Finish. It's just asking me, would I like to save these import steps? I don't necessarily want to save these steps. So I'm simply going to click Close. When I double click on this employees table, look, this is the data. It's got name, it's got ID, it's got first and last name separately, email ID, job title, business, home, so on and so forth. There are no sub data sheets in this table right now. Okay, again, I'm going to go back to external data and I'm going to click on Excel under import and link. Then again, I'm going to click on browse and select the file which I would like to import. I have the option of either appending the file or just simply importing it or linking it to the data source. I currently do not want to append it because I do not have a table to which I want to append this file. I simply want to import it. Neither do I want to link it to a data source so that any changes in the Excel file will automatically be reflected in the Access file. I particularly don't want to do that. So I'm simply going to click OK. Again, the same steps. I know that the first row in my table contains column headers, so I'm going to click Next now. Again, Next. I'm going to choose my own primary key because it already has one which contains order ID. And click Finish. No, I don't want to save import steps. And this is my order ID field. Each ID is attached to an employee, name, order date, so on and so forth. So all these employees that are here in this particular column exist in the employee table as well. And they have created sales, and that sales can be identified by order ID and corresponding details. So let me go ahead and close these two tables. After doing that, I'm going to go to Database Tools. Under Relationships, there's something called Relationships icon there. So I'm just simply going to click on that. Show Table window appears. So I'm simply going to double click on the Employees table and the Orders table, and I'm going to click on Close. Let me just expand this. I'm going to drag the field name, which is the primary key in this table, and drop it on the employee name in the Orders table. Once I do that, a window has opened. This is the Relationships window, and this is where I need to identify what kind of relationship I would like to exist between these two tables. So I want the name field in Employees table to be linked to the employee field in the Orders table. So this is fine. And then I'm going to click on Enforce Referential Integrity. And then I'm going to click on Join Type. I want it to include all the records from Employees table and only those records from the Orders table that are equal to that. And I'm going to click on Cascade Update Related Fields and Cascade Delete Related Records. So any changes made to the Employees table, whether it's deletion or updation, will automatically be reflected in the Orders table. And I'm going to click on Create. Now under Design tab, which has appeared after I have created the relationship, I'm going to click on Close. It's asking me whether I want to save this. Yes, I want to save this. And now let's go back and open the Employees table. Look, a sub-data sheet icon has appeared. This is reflected by this plus sign over here. So I'm just going to click on this plus sign and notice what has happened. All the order IDs under this employee have appeared. So this employee has 4 orders with these details. Similarly, if I click on this plus sign, it's going to show me all the orders under this particular employee. Notice this is the employee that we're talking about. Let me just stretch this for you. Anna Larson. And when I go to the orders table and I filter Anna Larson's name out, there are 10 orders under her name, 30, 34 through 77. Similarly, 30, 34 through 77. So we have created a relationship between these two tables and referential integrity has been enforced. So if I delete any records from the employee table, it will be reflected in orders table. Currently there are 48 records in the orders table. Let me take this opportunity to introduce you to certain queries which actually end up modifying the table or changing the table, deleting records, adding records. So these queries include update, delete. These are not just select queries wherein you have the capability of selecting various records from the table based on different criteria. These kind of queries actually modify the table. So an update query is one of the 4 action queries. Using it can create a selection of records that all require a specific action or record to the data. It updates all those records throughout the database. Update query not only quickly updates the task but also prevents any data entry or updation errors. As a best practice, you are requested to take a backup of the database before updating it. A delete query is also one of the 4 action queries. If you would like to delete records based on certain criteria, delete query can be used. So let me just show you what I'm talking about. Notice this is the orders table and currently there are 48 records in this table. And I'm going to close this now. Now I'm going to go to the Create tab and under Queries I'm going to click on Query Design and I'm going to double click on the Employees table. Once I do that, under the Design tab, I'm going to click on Delete, which appears under Query Type. And I'm going to go to this window at the bottom. In this, I'm going to click on Name from the drop-down. Table name is Employees. Delete, the condition is Where. And the criteria in this case would be, let's say we want to delete Anne's record. So I'm going to type in Anne and an asterisk. I'm making use of the wildcard. And I'm going to click View. Before we do that, let me also show you what I'm talking about. Remember this employee called Anne and these 10 orders belong to her from 30, 34, 38 through 77. Now let me go ahead and click on Run. So it's telling me you're about to delete one row from the specified table. Once you click yes, I cannot undo this command. So remember, these action queries modify the table and you cannot undo these actions. So be very careful. That's why it is said that one should always take backup of the tables before working on any of these action queries. So I'm going to click yes. And let me just go ahead and close this. I want to save it. Yes. Look, her record has been deleted. So if I click on it, all these records have been deleted. Before deleting Anne's records, there were 48 records in orders table. Now there are 38 records. And remember, Anne had 10 orders under her name. So those records have been removed, such as 77 is not there anymore, and so on and so forth. So you can see that this has happened because we had clicked on Cascade Delete. So going back to the Database Tools tab, under Relationships, I'm going to click on Relationships icon. And when I click on Edit Relationship, remember this window where we had clicked on Cascade Update related fields and Cascade Delete related records. Because we had clicked on this, that's why it deleted these records. Now let's look at yes/no queries. Yes/no queries allow users to flag certain records for a particular purpose. It allows us to take advantage of flags and either/or fields in our database. So let me show you how we can create yes/no queries. Open a new file, and let's say I want to import data from another file. So I'm going to go to External tab, External Data tab, click on Excel, and I'm going to click on this file. We already know the steps of importing data from another file, so I'm going to just do it quickly. Alright, this is my file. In the last column, let's say we want to be able to create yes/no queries. So I'm going to go to the Fields tab, and under Add or Delete, there's something called yes/no. I'm simply going to go ahead and click on that. Once I do that, a column has been created with boxes in it. I'm going to name this column yes/no. So we go back there and we can see if we go ahead and check these boxes. Let's say I'm going to check these boxes. So let's go to the Create tab, and under Queries, click on Query Design, Add Sales Rep Table, and click Close. And let me go ahead and identify employee ID. Yes, no. And in criteria, I'm going to put in yes. So after putting yes in the criteria for yes and no field, I'm going to run this query. Once I do that, there are 4 employees where the box was checked, and that is what is displayed as a result of this query. So it could have been that you would want to find out how many employees had asked for vacation, and yes and no box could be displaying that. So this query comes in very handy. Let me also take this opportunity to introduce you to the tool called Builder, which has various functions, formulas in it, just like Excel. So I have clicked on Query Design, and this is the table that I'm going to be working with. Let's say I want to combine first name and last name. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this empty cell, and I'm going to right click and then click on Build. I can do that, or I can go to the Design tab. Under Query Setup, there's something called Build. I can click on that as well. So I'm just a right click kind of person, so I'm going to click on Build. Once I do that, another window has opened. This is the Expression Builder window. On the left hand side, there's something called Database. This is the name of our database, and in that, tables, queries, forms, and reports. 4 kinds of objects out there. So we have a table in our database, and it's called Sales Rep. Once I click on that, all the fields in that table has appeared under expression categories. So I'm going to click on first name, then I'm going to click on ampersand, then I'm going to open inverted commas, space, and close inverted comma. And then again I'm going to click on ampersand, and I'm going to click on last name. So basically, I'm trying to concatenate these two fields, first name and last name. I'm trying to combine them with a space in the middle. So I'm going to click OK now. But before I do that, let me also tell you, if you click on Functions under Expression Elements, and then there's something called Built-in Functions, various functions are available for you to play around. There is the aggregate functions like daverage, dcount, dmin max. Financial functions are available. Array functions are available. Database, math, so on and so forth for you to play around. So now let me go ahead and click OK. Once I do that, I'm going to go ahead and view my result. Notice what has happened. A new field has been created with first name, space, last name. But I'm not particularly happy with the field name, so I'm going to go back to my query view and I'm going to click on this cell. Notice there's a colon, and after that, let me just expand this. After that, the formula has appeared. Anything before the colon contains the name of the field. So let me just go ahead and change it. I'm going to click Enter, and I'm going to click on Run under Design. Now it has changed to Testing 1, which is the name of the field, and first name, space, last name. Hope this was useful.
This video was brought to you by CXO Learning Academy, a premier learning initiative by CXO Math. For any queries, you can email us at learning@cxomath.com.